We are live on the OxFit podcast. It's Thursday. Happy Thursday. Kids are back in school for one day until we go to Savannah for Savannah's wedding tomorrow and obviously Kira's birthday. So good day. It's a good day. Got to get all my work done for this week in this one day. So that's awesome, you know. I've always liked it when my back's against the wall like that. Used to leave my projects till last minute. Were you one of them people too? So this is just what I'm used to, right? I think you got to wait until the pressure's like, you just got to get it done in the next 10 minutes. And that's when your best work happens. What do you guys think? But anyway, that's the life of a parent. It's fun. It's a blast. I want to talk about before my guest comes on. I'm really excited about my guest. He's just opened Little Gym. I keep wanting to call it Big Little Gym, but it's Little Gym in Grant Park. And both of my kids go there. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about his business, all that good stuff. But before that, we're coming to that time of the year when you start to think about 2025, what you want in 2026. And I keep asking people how they do that, right? So I'll be like, did you have a good year? And how do you know it was a good year? And getting like different responses from people of if they think they had a good year and how they judge it and how they decide if they had a good year. If you're in the chat right now, let me know how you do it. How do you look back over your year? How do you review 2025 and decide what you want in 2026? So, I got one person listening. Beefy, good morning. So how do you look back? So I didn't really have a system for how I would do that, right? But I've got a business coach. I've had a business coach now for, I opened this gym 10 years ago, so I would say 11 years. I've had a business coach for about 11 years. And he gave me, Lauren knows. Don't sneak in here with how you know. Yeah, that's a good way to review your year. But Lauren knows how we do it. So my business coach told me an easy way to do it, if you have a journal, which clearly I just talked about, I'm not that kind of person that has everything listed in a journal. Like I respond best when the pressure's on, right? So I have to look back through a simple way where I just start looking through my photos. So I just start at the top of the year and start going through my photos and put them into two folders. So I'll put them into a business folder and I'll put them into a personal folder. And then I will only put in photos into that folder of things that I want more of in 2026, right? Or things that I really enjoyed. And I'll also have a sheet of paper out and I'll start making a list as I'm going through the photos of the things that I really enjoyed doing. And I'll also have a list on the other side of things I want to do less of. And so I'll go through that list. And what mostly happens, which is awesome, and I hope it happens for you, is you'll have a real long list of things that you want more of, and you'll have a really tiny short list of things that you want less of. But still, the things that you want less of, they might take up a lot of time, right? They might be the majority of your time, the things that you want less of. So I'll go through that list and decide which I want more of and which I want less of, and then try and come up with a plan of the things I want less of in 2026. Also, doing it through your photos is an awesome way because you realize how many photos you haven't printed out from the year. And if you've already put them into an album, then you can go to CVS or whatever, if the machine's working. Lauren knows a better way to do it. Send them somewhere online and print out all the pictures from the year of all the great things that you've done, which we just don't do enough of. That is one of my things I want to put on a note. I want a digital camera in 2026. Also, someone told me about getting a digital frame, and you can just Bluetooth your photos to the digital frame. That's a good plan too. But another thing I've been thinking about, which I'm going to do this year, is I'm going to look back on and I'm going to write down a list of, and I think you should do it too. What have you failed at this year? Rather than what went well, what do you want less of? What are the things that you failed at? Because I know we look back and we go, what are all the things that I did? And what are all the goals I achieved? And that's great. But also, what are the things that you failed at? I think is a better question for 2025 because it shows you how far you got out of your comfort zone, right? The biggest things that have ever happened to me in my life have been my failures. So, failing to become a professional basketball player, failing to open a workspace in East Atlanta, every time I've failed, I've had the biggest jumps in growth, and it's led me to a better life, better relationships. All the lessons in my life have come from that. So, my question for you is what have you failed at in 2025? And I would love you to comment. I would love to see your list. I'd love you to send it to me. I'd love you to email it to me, ann@ox.fit. And if you haven't failed at anything, I think that is a bigger problem than if you have a list of all the goals you achieved. Because if you have a list of a ton of goals that you achieved, then either you were just going with the flow and doing things that you've always done, and it wasn't really a new goal. It was just like the same thing you did last year, or you're just not thinking big enough, or you're not doing things that scare you, right? So you have to dream a little bit bigger. You have to fail a little bit bigger if you want these big steps in growth. So that's where we're going to start this, right? I think my guest is on, so I'm going to bring him in. Hey, Brent.
What's up, Ant? How
How
are
you
you?
doing?
If I had known it was Suns Out, Guns Out day, I would have
Yeah.
dressed differently. But I'm in a Little Gym sweatshirt. But I've been working out at OxFit, so I could have given the people what they wanted to see.
Just rip them off. Just rip them off right now.
Just go shirtless.
Just rip the sleeves off.
Oh, rip this. Oh no, man! These are our Christmas gifts to some of our staff in Dunwoody. This is limited edition.
No, that's nice. I love that color.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm trying to just pretend it's summer,
Yeah, I like
And
that.
also, I'm never gonna buy a cold plunge because I don't think anybody really uses them. So I just use outside as my natural cold plunge, right?
Are you a cold plunger?
I'm not. I do a cold shower, but I think most people buy the cold plunge and then it sits there like a Peloton,
Sure.
I think they just hang clothes on it and they say they do it or they video themselves doing it a few times and just recycle that video. But
I was in a pretty good habit when I was distance running a lot to ice the legs. But then it's like you get the ice and then you get the bathtub and it's a lot of work.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the other ones are like $5,000. Like you want
Yeah.
a $5,000 cold tub that you don't really use? No.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in the habit, I ran it by them. I was like, to my wife, should we get a cold plunge? And then we did the math and we were like, I don't think you cold plunge that much.
Right.
So no, that's not on the expense list.
And yeah, most people it doesn't really get cold here very often. So
Sure.
Just get outside. Just go get cold. Come back inside. Get some vitamin D while you're at it. So that's my cold plunge tip.
Yeah, I'm trying to be outside as much as possible. I'm on my porch right now, so you may hear some Atlanta sounds in the background. I don't know if that counts as being outside, but
Almost like we got the same background. So
yeah, sunshine in the eyes, at least, although not much sunshine in Atlanta today.
I did get my wife, and I got my wife a gift for Christmas, which is them recovery boots, the Normatec boots.
Oh, yeah. So, I've never used them, but I know people who swear by them.
Well, I got them for Lauren, but I've been in them every day, and she hasn't used them yet. So I don't know what. It was a great Christmas gift.
Merry Christmas, honey. I'll try these to make sure they work.
Just test them out for you. I don't want you to get injured or yeah.
That's big of you. That's really nice.
Yeah. So, well, nice to meet you. This is our first time meeting. I can't believe we haven't crossed paths, which is crazy. But
I've been on the noon OxFit train. Coach Savannah works it out, man. I come away hurting in a good way every time. So
I love it.
I'm a big fan of what you all have built in our building.
Good. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I do want to talk about Little Gym, but what I enjoy talking about, and I think you do too, is business, entrepreneurship, how these lessons of all this stuff just relate to everything, right? And they always come back to fitness. They always come back to habits. things like that. But I think this is going to be more entrepreneurship focused, if that's all right with you.
Sure. You take it where you want.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So the first question I have, and I don't know when you started, I don't know how long you've been doing this, but I just want to start with, what's the part of entrepreneurship that nobody warned you about?
So this is my third entrepreneurial venture. And I think the part that nobody warned me about is how invested you will feel in the livelihood of the people that you're working with. And just, I'm a father, and obviously being a father and a husband is a whole different ball game, but it's similar types of emotions that you feel towards wanting well-being and flourishing and the best for your people, and trying to think about what's realistic that you can give them in the confines of the salary structure that's realistic for the type of business that you're running. And then also kind of what you can make possible for personal and professional growth and enrichment for them. And then also how much it will really weigh on you when there is, or me personally, when there is discord or upset in the family of that business and in the unit, whether people are upset with their role at the business, with one of their coworkers, with me, whatever that is. Like, I carry that to bed at night. And that's what I wake up thinking about, is if the personnel aspects of the business really aren't working. And so I feel like everybody, everyone talks product market fit and cash flow and debt versus equity and leadership teams, but it's like truly like the personnel elements of running this business. I'm not sure I quite anticipated that. And that's also a high and a low. I positioned it as something that weighs on you, but it's so gratifying when someone, masters a new skill or kind of up levels, or we just promoted 2 people internally at our little gym of Dunwoody. And that felt awesome because they've been doing a great job. And so there's a high and also challenges associated with that.
Yeah, that's really good. It's one of the things where I talk to a lot of people who are studying entrepreneurship, or it's a new degree, and they have all the buzzwords like you just talked about. And I think you're a consultant, right? So my wife was a consultant, so she knows that language in and out, right? And I just think if you go and study entrepreneurship, that tells me right away, number one, you might not be an entrepreneur, right? And number two is, all that stuff's not going to be in the books, right? The people and the relationships and the feelings that you have towards your employees and your team, and how much you want their success more than they might even understand they want it, right? Because you can see a clear structure of how they can get it. And you don't learn that from an economics book. You don't learn that from a business 101, 201, 401. You know what I mean? Like, it's not there. And you have to go and do it. And you have to really invest in these relationships on a level that you don't even anticipate when you first open a business. You think it's just X's and O's, numbers on a spreadsheet, let's get to work. But you end up spending your time in a lot more of the soft skills. I would say, like, if I made your dream come true and gave you a dream business right now, it would fail. Not because you don't have enough like business acumen, but because you just haven't spent time in them relationships with people. You don't know the majority of your time as a CEO might be just managing relationships, not just looking at spreadsheets,
Yeah.
That's good. So yeah, how long have you had the little gym now?
So I own the Little Gym of Dunwoody, and we opened in September of 2024, and then the Little Gym of Grant Park opened in October of 2025. So it's 2 months old, not even a crawling. Well, yeah, a crawling baby at this point, but we're still parenting it in the early phase, I would say.
Yeah, that's fast from 1 to 2, right?
Yeah, we've got a good team, and one of my mentors and business partners owns a little gym at Grant Park and a little gym Smyrna, and she's been in the system for 20 years. Her name's Jane Mills. Decatur and Smyrna, excuse me, I misspoke. And so that, I think, de-risked some of what we're trying to do, and that's also advice and something around entrepreneurship is like get folks in your corner who have either seen exactly what you're trying to do or something adjacent who can give you the advice. And I agree to you for a certain extent on studying entrepreneurship limits maybe what you can do, but also learning from people who have gone through things that you're likely to do and will see around the corner on, hey, anticipate this challenge, get ahead of it, is really helpful and also really enjoyable to build those relationships. So for this business, I'm 2-3 years in, you could say.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, the best thing I ever did was hire a business coach that had done what I was wanting to do. And then they push you to do things that, you wouldn't, like you said, you wouldn't anticipate and you wouldn't know coming. But also, like, there's so many people sitting down, I think, philosophizing about what business they want to open, or they're waiting to build their website, or they're waiting to get this certificate, or they're waiting to do, and it's like, go get your first customer, or go and, start doing something where somebody's paying you. You have to make a sale. You have to hire somebody and then start building it. Like if you went from 0 to 10 locations of Little Gym right away, I think it would be very difficult unless you won't be able to do it on your own. You'd have to do it with that team of probably like 5 to 10 people that have done it before, right? So,
and you got to wear the hats too. I mean, you got to clean the toilet, and then I remember exactly where I was sitting when we sold our first pre-sale membership for Dunwoody. And I was calling and, yeah, cool, this is our spiel. It's now $119 a month. You'll book it monthly and you can cancel anytime, 10 days notice. And I'm like, all right, so can we get you signed up? And she's like, yeah, sure. Just give you a credit card over the phone. And I was like, oh yeah, I think I know how to do that, right? I could take it over the phone. Yeah. And so it's like, you got to go through those micro reps. And fast forward a couple of years and we got 20 people trained on how to take a membership across the 2 gyms. And I'll do it if I'm in there, but we have teams who run that. But you walk before you can run, and yeah, you start with a micro activity. That makes a ton of sense.
That's cool. When you said this is your 3rd entrepreneurial venture, and before this, were you working in your own business, or were you working in a corporate business?
Yeah, I was running a technology startup called Daymaker that I kind of partnered with the original founder and kind of refounded that. But it was highly remote, or it was fully remote, and then highly volatile during the pandemic season. And so we were selling charitable giving software for companies to help them run back to school and holiday giving campaigns, and just had this big bump in 2020 and 2021. And then when folks started going back to the office in 2022, our top of funnel dried up, and it was not going to be the long-term winner. And so we made the tough decision to shut that down in 2023. And I took a bit of time to figure out, what am I going to do next? And I kind of wanted something that was going to be the opposite of remote and then volatile and market dependent. And I'm decently worried, like many folks are, or uncertain about what AI is likely to do to the workforce in the next 5-10 years. And so I had kind of resolved to try to buy an in-person, brick and mortar, unsexy business, something in services, and do entrepreneurship through acquisition. And then a friend of mine, who is actually a consultant as well, had opened little gyms in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area, and said, I really think you should take a long look at the little gym. And the more I learned, the more the business really became appealing to me, because I feel like it's on the right side of so many trends that I feel like are maybe wrong with how we live and how we raise our kids. And, you think about kids like sitting down all day, being confined at school. We literally have a sign on our door that says no indoor voices allowed. And like, kids are supposed to come in, and it's a big place where you can burn a bunch of calories and get all the energy out. And I feel like we just, we confine kids. We don't let them move enough. We don't let them be in their bodies and having fun. I feel like we oftentimes do things at home rather than in community. Like, this is a place where it's a membership-based gymnastics program. So you see the same kids, the same moms and dads week over week, the same teachers. So you build some community around that and some real connection. And then it's also just fun. Like, it's fun for the kids and the families. Like, it's a smile factory when we do what we're supposed to do and everybody leaves happy. And I feel like so many times for our youth, like we thrust the psychosis of adulthood on them early, and they have to have pressure to perform and to meet certain goals and otherwise. And Little Gem's just a place where they get to come and truly be kids, and they're learning new skills and challenging themselves, yes, but they're also doing that in just a fun and supportive and playful environment. And it feels like some of the best parts about what we should cherish about childhood and family life. So those were all really attractive elements of this business to me. And then combined with the fact that it's a franchise model. It's been around. The 50th anniversary is next year. It's a proven model. Like gymnastics works, membership-based gymnastics works. And so it was a model that I could get my head around. I don't think it's going to be abstracted by AI anytime soon. Like kids are going to need to do gymnastics and step into their bodies. And so it's a model that I got comfortable with and excited about from a business side as well.
That's really cool. That you were so excited about everything you described about it, just being an asset to society, right? When you were first starting out as an entrepreneur, when you were first starting out in business, what were you chasing when you first started? And how does that compare to the first thing you just described there? Like, could you imagine yourself really saying that 10 years ago or whenever you first started? Or is this something that like, you can't believe this is where you ended up?
Yeah, that's a really great question. My first business was called Primer Sports in 2015. We try to do sports email newsletters for busy people. And so I was working really long hours as a consultant. I didn't have time to watch a 15-second ad before I get to a 10-second highlight video. And I felt like the sports email or the sports media ecosystem did not serve us. And so we had this model of the Skim, the email newsletter, the Skim, and they had bootstrapped that and been super successful. And so we started trying to write sports email newsletters. And looking back, like I didn't want to be a sports journalist. I didn't want to be the writer of that. And I should have raised money and tried to hire people who did want to do it. And I should have built the business. And so, we did that for just over a year, and then it was not working. And both my co-founder and I ended up going to Uber, and we joked that we got hired by Uber, but really we just got hired by Uber. We just wound the business down. But to your point, like I wanted to be a disruptive entrepreneur in the sports media space. And there was a ton of ego wrapped up in that for sure. And, when I look at it now, it's like, I want this to fit in the whole life that I'm building and to be something that is really life-giving for my family, for me, in terms of the content and financially, and to be something that's an asset and of service to the community and our employees. And that should exist. And so I don't need a certain number of zeros on the end of it or a certain number of accolades associated with it for it to be a thing that satisfies what I'm looking for now. And maybe that answer is different than my 24, 25-year-old self would have said.
Was there a time when you were having some success with other businesses, when you were questioning how it would feel when you were successful or how it would feel when you made it, like in them technology companies or in the other things you were pursuing?
Yeah, I was actually talking about something adjacent to this with a men's group that I'm in this morning. And I think Peter Thiel has a saying that there are 4 burners. You picture a stove, and the burners are your work, your family, your health, and then any kind of hobbies or spiritual practices that you have. And he says, if you want to be, above average or good in all 4, you can keep the burners on. If you want to be great in any one, turn 1 burner off. If you want to be world class, turn 2 burners off. And if you want to be the best in the world, turn 3 burners off. And so I've always been, I have had and still have an interesting relationship with ambition. Because, I've been acculturated in the American business school type world of your achievement being what is a measure of you. And, I love to work hard, and I love to be rewarded, and I love to be challenged, and I love to work through challenges. And in many ways, I'm striving for greatness in life, but I'm not willing to do that at the expense of my health and my wellness and my spiritual connection with God, and especially with my family. And so I've I've always kind of been afraid of some echelon of success that would require me to be like single threaded on just business or whatever that practice is. And so I think that would always be the worry, is that you wake up at one point in life and you realize that you've like worked yourself into a set of problems that preclude you from being a whole person. And I really don't want to do that. I don't want to wake up and realize that my kids are 24 and that I missed a lot of their youth because I was flying around. Like, for what? I don't want to wait. I don't want to get divorced. Like, I don't want to have a chronic illness at an early age. And so if I'm punishing myself and it's a bad day, I'll feel like I'm hedging on my ambition or the gifts that I've been given, and I'm not maximizing them. But then I know that really I'm just choosing what I want in a whole life, which is a life where I can do great work and create opportunities for the people that I work with and the customers that we serve, and earn a financial return that gives us a really good life. And also I can still be emotionally available and present as a husband and father and seeker, and somebody who's into health and wellness and fitness, as I am. So I think I'm striving. Maybe I want to have my cake and eat it too, but I'm trying to keep all those burners on, but do the best I can within that construct.
And was there a time when you were that person that was just solely focused on ambition and achievement and what you thought would lead to happiness? I mean, I was in terms of sports, right? I wanted to be a professional basketball player. I wanted to play in the NBA. So all the other burners were turned off. It was like, I wake up, I shoot this many shots, I do this. I'm too tired to really be a great boyfriend, fiance, husband, etc. And then I became this entrepreneur, and it was the same thing. I just switched roles. Like, okay, now I'm a gym owner, and this is the way it goes. And thankfully for me, which is crazy to say now, 5 years out of the pandemic happened when my wife was pregnant, and everything got shut down for me. And it was like, who are you now? Who are you now? You've got nothing. And I was like, I don't know who I am, but I'm not good at this, and this. The only thing I'm good at is the thing that's gone, and I'm back to zero. And I was like, if that didn't happen for me, I would still just have one burner on. And I don't think I'd really know my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old very well right now. I don't think I would be like as present in everything else that I'm doing. And I'd probably have a couple more gyms. I would probably have a successful workspace, which closed in the pandemic. Like a few other things. I would have probably more money, that's for sure. But I fully relate to now I have 4 burners going, just like you said, and I'm in such a better place. And the gyms, like you said, every day I get up and I do my best. And then I go and do my best as a dad, and I go do my best as a husband, and I go do my best as a friend. And the business stuff I'm still better at, because I've had practice at being focused on that. I'm not good still at shutting down. I'm still trying to control my anxiety when I go to bed, like you, that like, what did I forget today? What did this person say? What did it like? It's like a screaming noise every time I go to bed that I'm slowly trying to be like, this is not acceptable. Like, you got to know how to control all this stuff. But that's what I've failed at in 2025 and what I would like to get better at. But at least I've got more burners lit, right? How do you still control that ambition? Because every night when you go to bed, that ambition wants to pop back up, probably be like, did you do enough today? Like, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Or you watch a Kobe Bryant documentary or something, you're like, I'm quitting everything. I'm going to try and make the NBA again.
Oh man, well, Kobe's like the outlier in what we're talking about. I think 3 thoughts would come to mind there. 1, I got really good advice from when I was young. 2, I looked around when I was working my longest hours and kind of didn't like where I saw where it was going. And then 3, I think a lot of what I've done with business has been a crucible for my own spiritual and whole person development. And I'll talk quickly about each of those. So I played a lot of basketball growing up too. And I was in 9th, 10th grade and probably tracking to do D3, D2. And I got some like very real advice from a coach who was an assistant principal, who was like, look, man, like, if you really want to make it anywhere worthwhile in basketball, we're talking like 10, 12 hours in the gym. And you are a smart kid. It is going to be your brain, not basketball, that takes you somewhere. So like, if you're choosing one, like he used to say, the only place basketball comes before books is in the dictionary. And he was like, hit the books. And so I kind of like that reoriented me towards like, all right, what is the long-term game that I was going to play? And it was going to be focused on academics and what I was doing. And basketball would be a nice thing that I could do on the side. So that was kind of one. And then the second was, I wouldn't say that I was like, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to like be an outlier of success and I must do that or else. But it was kind of the default when you're in the McKinsey or any of the professional services kind of big default. I was about to say rat race. That's not totally fair, but default motion, right? Like that was just the water that you're drinking. And I think to my credit, I was self-aware enough to be like, is this what I actually want? Or is this what I'm doing just because the smart people around me are doing and that's their goals and ambitions? And I feel like in my early and mid 20s, I kind of looked around at the people that I was working with and then the clients that we were serving. And a lot of people that I really like and have a ton of respect for and learned a ton from. But I said, I'm not really sure that is the way that I want to be living at that age. And if that's true, and I'm progressing to that point by being on this track, then like I need to try a different track. And so I've tried a few different tracks at this point to try to find something that was moving towards the life that I wanted. And to your point on maybe you can't really study entrepreneurship. If you think entrepreneurship is for you, you can go to somebody who is an entrepreneur and say, hey, I'll work for free. I'll work for a minimal amount of time or only pay me if I'm adding value. I want to see if this is actually what I want and try that out. And so I think I got off the default golden handcuffs track and got to start constructing a life that I wanted to build. And I'm still kind of in that effort. And then the third and final piece is that path that we're walking and going to bed with anxiety in your mind, as you said. Like I started meditating in 2017 because at that point I did another stint at McKinsey after the first startup and after Uber. And I was getting crushed. I was working on a long time. And I was working with two partners who were both morning people. And so they would get up really early and like basically I would wake up early and the emails would be going. And so from like minute one, I would feel like if I'm not hopping in, I'm late. And it was just a breeding ground for anxiety. And so I was like, all right, I got to do something. And so I started meditating to try to kind of get a hold of myself. And ever since then, every stop has been, okay, in this business and being a small business owner, this, it's like you plan for things to be normal and then they're always disrupted. And so when things are disrupted, I'm typically a person who's like, I had this like optimized plan for my day and I was going to do all these things. And now like, I got to go to the gym because we're locked out. And that's not how I was planning. This literally happened this morning. I was not planning to use that hour before this podcast to go do that. And it's like, all right, well, that's what's occurring. So I can either be all feeling a certain way about it and be thrown off my game, or I can, okay, let's go deal with this. Let's make sure we learn from this so we don't get locked out in the same way in the future. And okay, are we going to keep growing from this? And I'm not going to let it throw off my day. And that has been true in a 1,000 little micro moments for me. It's also been true with like some real macro unanticipated challenges that we've encountered in the last 2 and 5 years through this journey for me. And I hope I'm learning from those lessons, but that is one of the gifts of entrepreneurship in any career route, but especially one that's less traditional. Is like if you're making your own path and trying to figure out, like you're going to have all these unforeseen obstacles and challenges thrown at you that can be gifts for you to process and use in your spiritual and whole person development too. So I'm trying to remain open to that and seeing that as part of the gift of this journey, not just the challenge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It comes from sports and things like that where you get so focused on the results, right? Like you start to define your success as the result or the numbers on a spreadsheet or, the number of locations you've opened and things like that, instead of what you're doing on a daily basis, how much effort and energy you're actually putting in to grow. Like just taking it back to a micro level, we're so good at doing it for other people, but not for ourselves, I think. Like my son this morning, we were just drawing and he was getting so frustrated that it didn't look exactly how he wanted it to look. He was trying to draw Josh Allen and he was like, this is terrible. I want to start again. And I just kept saying to him, are you doing your best? And he said, yeah. And I was like, so it's good enough. and then we'll practice again tomorrow. Like, we'll just keep doing it one step at a time, right?
Yeah.
And we just don't do that for ourselves, right? We're like, well, what are the numbers today? Well, you haven't had enough time yet. You've only opened this business a couple of months ago. Or like, this is just the way it goes. You've only been an entrepreneur for 10 years. Like, you might not hit success for another 5 to 10. You might not, you know what I mean? Like, you got to go through these stages to understand what they are. Are you doing your best today? And for me, like, when I lay down at night, it comes back to like little things, like you said, like, did they lock the doors? Did they turn the heat off? All that just random stuff. But it's not really that. That's just the stuff your brain wants to focus on. It's really like, are you doing enough? Are you achieving what you set out to achieve? Are you who you think you are, right? And for me now, it's 10 years in, looking at where OxFit goes and how OxFit, keeps evolving. It's all based on how I evolve, and it's all based on who I decide to put in certain positions, or how I help people grow into the position that they want to be in. So it is all, like you were talking about earlier, it all magnifies aspects of you that you need to improve on. So like, if you're constantly stressed out at 2 locations, why would you open 3 more, right? Like, you got to get a handle on that. Or you got to figure out what it is. Like, you can't go unlock the gym every day if you've got 5 and you don't live where the next one is, right? So that system has to be created before you get to 5, or you have to ask someone that's already created that system, and you got to find them things out. So 2026 is about, for me, becoming the next version of that. And it was so simple when it was just become the best basketball player you can be, right? Like, shoot jump shots. Yeah. But to become the best CEO, that is not like, oh, just do this one thing. That is so many aspects of you that have to improve, right? You have to get a handle on your stress. You have to sleep better. You have to have your life set up in a way that you're not just putting out fires. You have to have a structure to keep leveling yourself up, right? And like, now trying to figure out what that means and where you go, how does that look for you, do you think, as you continue to grow a little bit?
That's a really good question. I think, to your point, you not only have to improve things, you have to decide what the things you're improving even are. And am I spending time in the right places? And I really want to figure out what's the right level for me to play at, and how to empower people to really like build, to your point, to build an organization that has a lot of capability, and where people both know what's expected of them, but then also feel empowered and capable and encouraged to push the ball forward, where they're not just coloring within the lines of the system that we've built. They have parts to color in, but they can also like add on to the picture and draw some new things. And we're lucky, both of us, I would say, and that our business is not rocket science. Like, it's relatively simple, but then also there's still a lot of areas that you can add initiative for it, in terms of people and culture. And is the staff really plugged in, and are they encouraging one another? Marketing and sales, like, are we growing? Are we out there in the community? Are we being an asset to one another? Like, the curriculum and the core offering, like, should we add a dance class? Like, what should that look like? Should we do like a father-son, like, guys event? Like, we're talking about what's happening during the World Cup. Like, and do we have a short-term offering that we're going to spin up for people who are in Atlanta only for that period of time? So there's plenty of areas for initiative, even within a relatively well-defined business. And so I think for us, like, to your point, this next year will be the first one where we have 2 really open. We want to figure out what's that operating rhythm. How do we start to function like an organization instead of like one small business? And I think we're clear-eyed on that set of challenges and opportunities.
Yeah, it's really cool. That the one thing I respect about you, without even knowing you, is I've been to the little gym a few times with my kids, and I've never seen you coach in a class. Now, that's fine if I did, but then I hear that you had to go and unlock the doors today, and it just gives entrepreneurs a chance to be like, everybody's not running their business perfect, right? Like, everybody's just trying their best, and you got to give yourself a break if you're a few years in and you're still doing things that you were doing when you opened. If you're still cleaning the place, then you got to get a cleaner. You got to start creating systems. But let yourself off the hook that you might be 10 years in and you still might one day have to go and unlock the gym because someone forgot a key, right? Like, and just understand that it's all just part of the process and you don't have to be perfect. You just have to do your best. Like when kids are trying to draw something, like treat yourself like you would treat someone else when you see them doing something, you know?
Yeah. And we tried to deliberately structure it. When I signed an agreement to open the franchise, it was to open at least 3. And so we structured it deliberately from moment one, where I would never be a crucial cog in our operations, but hopefully around and adding value. But if I disappeared for 2 weeks, like the business should still be able to run itself without me doing anything. Mm-hmm. And hopefully I add value. There's times where I think I like throw a shiny object onto the team's plate where they're like, now are we doing this or we were doing this other thing before? So I have to be careful of that. Mm-hmm. But hopefully I help. But to your point, like you got to structure it how you want.
That's another level up, right? Like that's another example of you don't want to be, I call it seagull management, right? Where you just come in and shit on everybody and leave. You want to come in and add value every day, right? And like, if you're, like I said, if you haven't been in the business every day to then come in and be like, why don't you do it like this? You don't know why they don't do it like that, right? So like, you got to go in and ask questions, not come in and just be like, this is how you do it. But again, that's the next level of being a business owner, not what you read in the textbook where it's like, well, the textbook says sales plus, but hey man, like there's people in here, you know, like these people are trying their best and they also have lives too, right? So it's just, all them moments where you have to level up. So how do you define happiness now?
It's a really good question. I think that there's a feeling after like a thorough workout where you are not like blasted to smithereens, but you know that you really worked it out and like you're tired and you're good tired when you hit the pillow. I think I want to feel that level of exertion in those 4, stovetop areas that we were mentioning. Like I really want to know that with my family, I've really spent quality time and that they know their dad, my wife knows her husband and that we're all super connected. I want to know on the business front that I'm really trying hard and we're building something that is of utility to the people that we're serving. I want to be healthy and well and have space I'm just so much happier when I've slept 8 hours and exercised and I've meditated. Like if those are true, I'm so much able to do the rest of the other things. Like that's pretty much a non-negotiable. And then it's really important to me to kind of live an examined life and be in connection with something greater than me as well. And so as long as I'm doing those things and staying consistent, and then also, I'm an Enneagram 7, so I'm into adventure and I like to have fun. And so like holding both, like, I feel like business, entrepreneurship, we take this all as a lot of intention, optimization, but then like remembering that we're sitting on like a spinning rock that's floating through the universe and we're going to be alive for like 2 seconds in the grand scheme of things. So like we can laugh off being locked out and like make sure that we're having a good time and like be a little bit sillier than we might otherwise. And if those things can be true for me, then it's a happy existence that I'm having a lot of fun with.
How does that contrast to when you first opened your first business? Was it just $1 billion and you're like, oh, that's a big difference in answer there?
Really good question. I feel like it's like, I drank a lot more in my 20s than I do now. The external trappings of success were probably a bigger part of that, like travel and vacations and nice things and like where I think that we're going. And now I still enjoy nice things and great travel and otherwise, and a good bottle of wine on occasion, but it's not like, that's not the main thing. That's a side dish, I think. So that's been a shift for me.
And then how do you think the answer that you gave previously will look in 10 years time? Do you think it will be a similar answer? Or do you think maybe you might look back and be like, I should have just aimed for $1 billion?
I hope not. That was another thing we were talking about today is like, you don't read many accounts of older people who are like, what I should have done? Less time with my family and abused the body more. Like, you just don't really hear that. If anything, you hear like, I wish I had been more present and not, at the expense of things. So, 10 years, I'll have God willing, I'll have a 15-year-old, a 13 and a half-year-old, and an 11-year-old. And I hope that they are looking forward to like our next outdoor familial adventure. And I hope that's like circled. We're doing family camp for the first time this summer. I'm like 10 out of 10 excited for that. And I hope that like, if I think I will be successful if they all want to work and they want to work hard, and we've done well with the businesses, and we're a family who like adventures together and does awesome things. Like that's a definition of success for me.
Love it. Love it. I have some like rapid fire questions, but I think you nailed everything that's pretty much in there. So the only thing I want to ask is, what is out of your story, what is the part that when people ask you, you normally leave out of the story?
I probably tone down the spiritual seeking piece because I'm not sure like how much folks want to hear that and how much like your audience cares about that. But that's really central in my life. And
how long has that been key?
Probably 10 plus years. The very fast version is I grew up in a Methodist household that just kind of went through the motions. And so I grew up in the Christian tradition. It didn't really deeply root. I got away from it and drank a lot and partied in college. I got out of it. I was working all the time, drinking all the time on the weekends. I kind of knew something was missing. And then we started the first company in 2015. I started interacting with a lot of startup and tech media. I started reading about long-term automation and like really thinking about how different things could get in my lifetime. And I went through this period of asking like, all right, suppose there's like, we don't need the bottom 90+% of workers. And suppose there's a bloody class warfare and a genocide and a bunch of people die. Do I care? And why? And the answer was like, well, yes, I care. That feels fundamentally wrong to me. I was like, all right, well, why? And I started pulling on that thread, and it just led to God. And I started meditating, and that led to God. And then I read some about Eastern traditions and a more kind of meditative and yogic tradition that led to God. And I feel like I have this, my personal spirituality kind of fuses the Western Christian upbringing with a more kind of universal, peaceful, meditative, yogic practice where I see God in a sunrise and a sunset in my meditation, in my kid's face, and then through the person of Jesus. And it just like, it's a relationship that I continue to develop and that I kind of see everywhere. And I'm increasingly trying to see it and do see it through business. I don't really talk about that a ton with the people that I work with. Like, I hope that they feel like, oh, this guy's different than a lot of people that maybe we interact with, but I'm not trying to force that down anyone's throat. But it's been huge for me. And if they ever want to, if anyone listening to this ever wants to kind of talk about that, I'm always happy to explore it.
Well, I definitely think you should share that more with people. I didn't grow up religious. I'm pretty agnostic, but I would say kind of spiritual. But I think it helps to hear how it connects to other people. And I think you should definitely talk about that more with the people around you, because they might be searching for something that you know the answer to, or you can lead them to. But also, I like that you just want to lead by example. And I think about my dad. My dad's still alive. I'm not saying I think about him like he's gone, but we didn't have any conversations about life really when I was growing up. He just showed me how to be a dad and a man and a husband. And through them lessons, I hopefully got to see and pass on some of them lessons to my kids, right? So I think just leading in a way that it means to you, hopefully will pass on them messages anyway. But then I definitely think you should, help other people understand how it came to be in your life and how that helps you on a day-to-day basis. Because I think, especially now, more and more, the things that you talk about 10 years ago seem to be coming true. The things that you were looking at 10 years ago are happening right now. Yeah. So the more you can help people, find out what that means to them. And without, like dictating it to people, but just helping them explore it,
Yeah, I got more questions than answers, but I
exactly.
There are a whole lot of different traditions and a whole lot of different people over the vast expanse of human history who have come to the conclusion that love is the supreme ethic. and that there's kind of an energy and a wavelength and a way of being that we can tap into that is more present and connected and in service of one another instead of just our own selfish aims, and that gets us to a higher place than we might otherwise go. And like, that's the way of being. People, early Christians called it followers of the way. They didn't call it Christianity. And so like, there is this way of being that we can kind of remember, that it's so easy to lose when we got 15 different screens and you got the culture telling you how successful you have to be, and everything that we've talked about and are living through. It takes real intention to remember that. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was 50 minutes. So I don't want to take up your whole day. I know you've got things to do, but I really enjoyed talking to you. I'm sorry we didn't talk too much about your business.
No, it's great. Come to the Little Gym. Your kids are going to have a great time. We do a free intro class, Grant Park, right across the street from OxFit.
Yep.
We'd love to have y'all. We're doing camps. If you're listening to this and you want something for your 3 through 10-year-old to do during winter break, we have camps every day. School's out, so we'd love to see y'all.
My kids are in it. So
that's
all you need to know as a promotion. My kids are in the camps. My kids go to the Little Gym, and it's such a great asset to the community. Thank you for opening it in Grant Park. And everybody go write a 5-star review. Tell them how great they are if you've been there, because it is awesome. And the team are awesome. It's so clean. It doesn't smell like kids' feet. It smells great, which is what most gymnastic places smell like. So how you've managed that, keep that going. And the windows are great, so you can see your kids keep looking back at you like this and whatever they do. So yeah, it's an awesome place, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, mate. Have a great day. Awesome. Thank you to Brent. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. I know I enjoyed doing that podcast. A little bit different, right? Not just talk about business, not just talk about fitness, and not just asking questions about, like what classes they have and stuff like that. Really getting to know the person behind it and why they did it and how they did it and why you should follow your passion, why you should next year. How do you apply these lessons to your life, right? This guy is trying to grow. Everybody that comes to OxFit is trying to grow. That's why you're there. If you weren't there, you throw your headphones in and you go to a $20 a month gym once a week and you would just keep spinning your wheels, right? But the reason you're at OxFit is because you want to get better. And whatever that means, I always tell people, and this is one of my favorite quotes, is write down on a piece of paper what you want to get better at in 2026. Put it in your pocket and then come to the gym every single day as much as you can. Hire me, hire Caitlin, hire Lauren, hire Savannah as a coach. And whatever you wrote down on that piece of paper, whatever it is, it doesn't even have to apply to fitness. Whatever you wrote down, in 6 months' time, you will be better at that thing. And fitness, nutrition are the keystone habits to that. Last thing I want to leave you with today is, if happiness, which I think is found in the pursuit of things, not the destination, what are you going to do differently right now and leading into 2026 because of that? Have a great day, and I'll see you in the gym.